Any thoughts from looking at this? Does any of this resonate with that journey that we're on? Huh?
It does for me.
Can you see yourself in there? Let's talk about one thing that is pretty popular in many circles. This thing called karma. What are your thoughts around karma? What do you think karma, or what does it mean to you?
Universally, I think it's what goes around comes around.
What goes around comes around. I love that because it does. What goes around comes around. Would you agree with that kind of definition, or you want to add anything else to it?
I agree with that.
Okay. Karma, what goes around comes around. What goes around comes around. Karma is nothing more than looking at what we did to others or others did to us when we were unconscious and totally unaware in the sleep or nightmare state, looking at it from the aware awake place. So for example, the more we expand our awareness into that place of acceptance, loving kindness, forgiveness, when we're in that space of resisting, that every time life brings us an opportunity to practice acceptance, loving kindness, forgiveness, we don't stop to look at how we have been unkind, unforgiving, unaccepting of others. So as we move through this journey, any of us who has a story attached to somebody else, to something else, as my excuse to not be happy right now, to me, it was crucial in my journey to look at everything that I was holding somebody responsible today as not being something that I liked. I needed to look at, how did I do that to somebody else? How was that a part of my past? How did I use that as part of my story? An example, I had a friend that I felt abandoned me when I needed my friend the most. I had to look at, where have I abandoned others? Where have I made commitments to be there for somebody but didn't because I wanted to go dancing with a friend, or I got this other job and decided, I'm not going to show up for that one. Or I had met another man while I was in the middle of living with one. I abandoned this one to go with that one. So as I was experiencing the pain of feeling abandoned by my friend, it was like a movie flashing before my eyes. When you let life know, I really want to clean up all the stuff from the past, it will bring it to you. And here's where I hope that gaining an awareness of this journey allows you to stand in the place of saying, I am so ready to be awake. I am so ready to stand grounded in pure joy, love, and bliss and peace. I want to be grounded in the truth of who I am, that I am a loving, accepting being, that I came in absolutely joyful, pure, creative. I want to stand in that again. So bring on whatever you need to bring on for me to clear up this story. And when you give life that commandment, it will bring to you everything that needs to be cleaned up. But you've got to really want it. And you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes to walk through the fire. You can't have the keys to the car and take off if you don't go through the practice with your permit. So the minute you get your permit, you're letting your parents know, I'm going to be driving one day. The minute you tell life, I am ready to do whatever it takes to move towards having the freedom that I want, it will give you the opportunity. And the only thing that you need to clean up is looking at what you called wrong that others did to you, so that you can no longer be triggered by others doing that to you. It's a beautiful thing. Karma is a beautiful thing. So if any of you have something right now that you want to play with, a situation that is happening, I will give you right here on the spot an opportunity to see where you are stuck by not looking, by not being able to guide your ego into seeing where am I holding somebody else responsible for my discomfort. There's an invitation here to go through that process. It's very gentle, it's very peaceful, and it is very powerful, very cleansing. So you guys get to decide if you are going to be curious and open to accept a gift.
So it could be anything.
Anything. And pay attention if the mind has a story that it is wrong to get in front of a group and show my weaknesses, or it is wrong to talk about something that is not working in my life. The mind has a way of keeping us from being able to move past resistance. The mind has a way that keeps us stuck because I'm going to prove that I have nothing wrong because I'm not going to get up there. And it keeps us defending and protecting our story so we won't be able to move forward. So putting you all on the spot, how bad do you want it? Here's the amazing thing. Fear traps us. Fear causes us to shrink. Facing our fear is the invitation to expand. So the very thing that stops us is the very thing that releases us when we face it. Okay, perfect.
I'm trying to think. I got so many, so I'm trying to think. Well, one is that I would like to have a relationship, but sometimes I wonder deep down, do I really want it?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm in relationships, I pull back, and so.
So as you're, just go ahead and stay there. I'm just going to jot some things down. So describe to me, what do you want in a relationship?
Love, respect, great sex.
Great sex. Did I tell you the mind is really dramatic? Great sex. I said just sexy alone is not enough.
Companionship. I always saw myself being with someone on a beach and just laughing and having a lot of fun.
Okay. Great sex on the beach.
Yeah, great sex on the beach too. Fun, a lot of fun. That we are in the Bible that they say that you have to be evenly yoked,
Mm-hmm.
so that we are
Equals?
Well, in the sense that we complement each other,
Mhm.
not so much equal, that we complement each other.
An equal complement.
An equal
So that you're
complement.
both bringing in the same level of vibration, the same level of consciousness.
Correct.
Even though his will be more masculine, yours will be more feminine.
Mhm.
His will be stronger physically and yours will be gentler physically.
Mhm.
But there is an equality to what you bring in terms of at the same level. But it just looks different.
Mhm.
So it's an equal, but what did you say, yoke? I know what you're talking about.
Equally yoked, or just that was just a term that I just thought of because
Mhm.
but just that you have that mutual
Well, it's a balance and a harmony.
That's what it is. Balance and harmony. I love that.
Okay,
Just like music.
absolutely. You have to have a note and you have to have the spaces, and one cannot function without the other, but they're totally different. What else?
Spiritual.
Okay, so let's
And somebody that we can see our weaknesses, but we don't go to the weak. We can see the person's weaknesses, but we play to their strengths.
so that would be in the spiritual category.
That could be
So it is seeing their greatness.
seeing their greatness.
Okay. Because whatever you're pointing at is what you're going to expand. Remember, the mind focuses its attention on things, and if our attention goes into what's wrong, guess what we're saying to the universe? This is wrong, this is wrong. And the more we repeat it, the bigger the story gets, and the more evidence we have about everything that is wrong, and that thing expands. But if you set an intention that I'm going to focus on the greatness, now the mind has already been told we're focusing on the greatness. The attention goes towards the greatness, and then what happens to the greatness? We keep pointing out what they're doing that is great, and it's going to be expanding, and the story is going to get bigger about how great this person is and how great the Perfect. So you're very clear.
And supportive. Extremely supportive.
Anything else? Love, respect, great sex, companionship, fun, equally yoked, balance, harmony, spiritual, focusing on what's great and supportive. Would that be the makings of a great relationship?
Yeah. Fun and playful. Definitely playful.
Fun and play. You know I love play. I'm all about play. Okay. So this is what you want to create, but you don't have it yet. Let's go to the past. So this is where karma, we got to go look at, see what did we have that's keeping us from having what we want now. In the past, love equated to what? When you have had people that you've loved, what was the result of that relationship? In the end, ultimately, what did you feel because of love?
Responsibility.
Responsibility? When you gave respect to another in the past, what did that translate to? What did that turn into in past relationships? Whether you gave it or didn't receive it. So look at respect from either side.
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I can't answer that one. Maybe you need to come back.
So we'll come back to that one.
Mm-hmm.
So great sex.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, what was the whole sex thing? What was the story around sex? What was the belief around sex?
That you had sex, but not always, it wasn't intimate. There was sometimes not the intimacy of the sex. It was just having sex instead of being intimate. And I wanted intimacy more than just sex.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So companionship in a past relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What did companionship lead to? What is the belief around companionship?
That's an interesting one. Companion, but the person felt like they needed to direct me and control.
Okay, so companionship turned into control.
Interesting.
In the past,
Mm-hmm.
in relationships, fun and play. What was the belief around fun and play?
It was, this was my last one. Fun and play. Fun. It was fun.
It was there?
It was
So it was part of something that you enjoyed?
times I did.
Okay.
It was conditional. It was conditional fun based on what person thought it was fun and what person didn't. It was conditional. Fun.
Okay, so sometimes you would have fun, his kind of fun, not necessarily yours, or you would play, he would play your play, but not necessarily what he wanted to play at.
Right.
So those two things you guys were conditional about. Equally yoked, balance and harmony in your past relationship.
No, I don't think we were equally yoked.
Okay, so what was the belief around that? If you're not equally yoked, then what? What does that mean?
We didn't see things the same way. We
Mhm.
saw things differently, which caused issues.
So when you saw things differently and it caused issues, what does that mean about the relationship?
It split the relationship. It caused us to feel, well, unhappy and not frustrated a lot. Because we weren't going in the same direction.
Opposite directions. So when it comes to being spiritual and seeing their greatness in your past relationship, were you seeing each other's greatness?
We were, but
Which did you point out? When you pointed out at his greatness, what would happen?
sometimes I didn't point out his greatness. But
Okay.
he was great.
Okay. So when you didn't point out the greatness, what happened?
He thought I was critical, more critical.
Thought that you were critical. When you focused on,
More judgmental.
okay. But you really weren't noticing the greatness, not pointing it out as much.
Not pointing it out as much. I noticed the greatness. but
Okay.
I didn't point it out. I held back.
Why did you hold back?
What did I hold back?
Why? What was the fear around pointing out the greatness?
Interesting question. What was the fear? Probably, sometimes you feel like, and maybe it was more of a control issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if he was great,
Mm-hmm.
if he got to experience you seeing him as great, was there any part of you that felt that that made him better than you?
Yeah, probably competition.
Okay. So you couldn't point this out because of some competition in there. So the supportiveness in that past relationship, what did supportiveness lead to? Or was there support there?
Conditional support,
Okay.
which I felt weakened me in a way.
Okay. Yeah, it absolutely does. It keeps you from having what you want.
Right.
Okay. And this will be a wonderful opportunity for you to take this in and experience it. When we say we want love, we want respect, actually it's great for all of us here. Every single person that wants to be in relationship, me included, when we say we want love, we want respect, companionship, great sex, all these wonderful things. We can only contribute to this to the extent that we believe that we have this. So our relationships become repetitive patterns because of how we see them. So we always bring our level of programming into every new relationship. So you cannot create this if in your programming is relationships, it's responsibility. And feel into your body. Is responsibility, does it feel a 1? Tight and tens? A 10, oh, I love responsibility. I am so at ease. I love being responsible. How does the body feel about responsibility? Give it a number.
Well, I feel sometimes overwhelmed with responsibility.
So would that be a 1 tens to a 10 totally at ease?
Probably more 4 because
Okay.
sometimes I take responsibility, sometimes I feel like I don't feel like being responsible.
Okay.
Okay.
So when it comes to great sex, you had it, but it wasn't really operating out of intimacy. How does your body feel about having sex, but I really don't feel like it's gonna, there's not going to be an intimacy around there. The belief around that getting jumbled up.
It becomes a 2 instead of 2. Yeah.
It's a have to.
Yeah.
So have to in your body. Does that feel like 1? Tens? 10? Oh, I love having to. I love having to do this thing.
Oh, I love doing it, but I mean not.
But
not
under a have to.
Okay, because have to is different. Yeah, it is different.
So does your body feel?
Oh, have to definitely feels like a 3 or about a 3. Yeah.
Okay, you were almost going to say 4. So let's give you that 3 or 4. Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about respect. In your past relationship, what did respect look like overall? Or was that the responsibility? Maybe that was what we said for responsibility.
We were coming back.
We're coming back to respect.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Come back to respect. I respected him.
But
You hear a but, don't you?
I heard it.
You heard
I
it.
felt it.
You felt it. I respected him, but yeah, why am I saying but? I respected him.
Go beyond the but, because there's something there.
But,
When you
I don't think he respected me, and I think that was the problem. He did not respect me.
Okay.
My opinion, or I think he felt, we're supposed to be in this relationship, and this is how it's supposed to be, and this is how it's supposed to look. Oh, he did not really want me to be like the butterfly, to grow and change. He wanted me to be the way that he pictured me as the person I was, but I wasn't. I started growing, changing.
Okay, so you could respect him, but only if he respected you back? Respected your butterfly?
Yeah, probably, yes.
So there's a condition there?
I put a condition on it, yes, I did. I did.
Okay, so feel into your body. Having conditional relationships, how does it feel? 1 pretty tens? 10? It feels wonderful to have conditional relationships.
You know something, when you said that, I had in my throat, I felt like a tightness, so it must be real tight about that. So it has to be a two, yeah.
Okay, so being in a relationship where there's a lot of control in your body, how does it feel?
Oh, terrible, that's a 1.
That's the one. Conditional relationship.
Probably about a 3 or 4.
Okay, frustration, where you're split on the issues. There's no balance, harmony, because there's a level of unhappiness.
Definitely a 1 for me.
All right, so when you're noticing the things that they're not doing well, when you're pointing at things, being conditional and judgmental.
And I know where that comes from, too.
How does that feel?
That's from my childhood, so I could definitely say that was a 1 for me.
Okay. And the supportiveness was always conditional. How does it feel to have conditional relationships?
About a 3 or 4.
Okay. So the conditioning that you have about relationships, based on this past one, it was a lot of responsibility. It was such a conditional thing. He had to be a certain way for me to be okay being who I am. Certain things you just did them because you have to, but it's not because you really wanted to. It was part of the relationship, and just did it, check it off the list. There was a level of control. Again, we need to make sure that they behave a certain way so that I get to be okay. Because if I want to be a butterfly, then I maybe better give in over here. And maybe I better have sex if I want to be allowed to experiment with spirituality and, flutter along. And so things become very conditional, a lot of control. Of course, there's frustration and unhappiness because you're going in opposite directions. You are not being in integrity with who you are. And there's this judgment. Not only are they being critical and judgment of you, you're being critical and judgmental of them because they're not conforming to what you need them to conform for you to be okay being you. Mm-hmm. So we are split. There is a frustration. We are literally 2 different people. Mm-hmm. There is the me that I want to be in a relationship, but I won't allow me to be because if I'm this, you might leave me. So I'll become this so that you will stay with me. And then we get into, again, more, they can't be supported because there's so much condition. I have to give up part of who I am to get you to like me.
In fact, a lot of it was, when you think about it, when you're talking about it like this, it's almost like acting, because I really wasn't being true to who I was.
So now let's take this one step further. Where did this come from? Because this is what you used to control the relationship. In the relationship, we behaved based on our old patterning because we somehow got programmed to believe that this is what we needed to do to get what we wanted. So we were just reacting. Where did this come from? So go a step further.
This is my mother and my father.
Okay.
My father was very, very controlling.
Okay.
In the relationship.
So from mother, father, you learned that relationships were heavy responsibility. You learned that everything had to be conditional. You had to give in on some things if you wanted to get others. Again, everything control, condition, and because it's so controlling and conditional, no wonder it's frustrating. And how can joy and spontaneity show up in a relationship that is conditional and it's causing people to not feel okay? No wonder you're going to split up. The critical, the judgmental begins to seep in when we begin to notice that what they're doing is keeping me from being okay. So here's going to be opportunity for you. Bring to mind this past relationship and just see him right there in your mind's eye. Have him there. And let him know that your love for him became a responsibility because you wanted to be responsible about creating love the way you thought would be the right way to have a relationship. And let him know that you were conditional in how you were in this relationship as it pertained to respect, because that is what you had learned from your parents. Respect is conditional. And that you did certain things because you had to, not because necessarily you wanted to, because it's what you learned from your parents. And let him know that you practice controlling him because it's what your parents modeled for you. And look into the space that your fun and your play was conditional and you used it as a way of manipulation, because that is how, when you were little, you could only play when you behaved a certain way. You could only have fun if you did certain things. That's how your parents conditioned you. And that there was frustration and unhappiness and there couldn't be balance and harmony because growing up, that's what you got conditioned to with your parents' relationship. And that inside of you, there was a desire to connect with your spirituality. There was a desire to live from your greatness. But because your parents didn't take the time to point out what was great about you, you could only point out what was not because it's what was done to you. And that from a place of being supportive, you didn't know how to be supportive because your parents were not supportive of you.
Interesting.
How does that feel?
That feels much better than this.
Okay. So we pick up the conditioning. We're told that who we are is not okay. No wonder we meet a mate and we tell them that who they are is not okay, because they begin to be whoever they are, and it begins to show who we really are. And then who we really are reminds us of our parents telling us that that was not okay. So now I want to take it one step further. This is what you want. This is what you have as a pattern. We just recognize that it came from parents. Now let's go back one step. Let's go back to the beginning. I came in a wonderful, loving being who can create love, who respects, who looks for relationships where I can have fun and play. Part of that is great sex. Who we will experience balance and harmony. We will help each other remember our spiritual greatness, and we will be supportive with each other all the time. That is who I naturally am. But I came to forget that that's what I could have, so I created relationships that didn't have that to give me the opportunity to experience the contrast. Thank you, him, for showing me where I did not live from my authenticity, because I operated from my programming. So now I am reprogramming myself to recognize that who I am is okay, and I want to live from my truth. So feel into that. If you are authentic, can you respect anybody for however they are?
Yes.
Do you need anybody's respect? If you are authentic, is great sex part of what you can have because it won't need to be manipulated?
Always.
If you're authentic, do you think you're going to be able to attract the perfect companion
Yes.
who needs nothing from you because he too will be authentic? If you're truly authentic and living from a place of your knowingness, that you are a creative, playful being, can you play and have fun?
Yes.
And in that space, can you create balance and harmony in your life? Because there's nothing you need from the other person, because you're going to be whole and complete in your authenticity. And now there's an equally yoked partnership that can dance in that space. Will that allow you to be able to see their greatness?
Yes.
And that at moments that you forget your greatness, they will mirror for you that greatness? Because the relationship will be based on authenticity. You're both already great no matter what. Can you see how supportive that would be? Then you're going to get the love that you want, because you will be the love that you want.
And they'll show up. After.
Of course. See, this cannot show up because inside there's a programming that says, ooh, love, relationships, control, responsibility. I want the joy and freedom of a relationship, but it brings responsibility and it's hard and tough and controlling. So I may not move into a responsibility that I want because I have a programming that says they were controlling and I couldn't be myself. So we're sending a split message to the universe. I want this, but I might get that because that's what I remember. And the way to reprogram our minds is to look at the relationships where we did in the past the thing that we don't want done to us in the next one. And a recognition, I did what I did because I was programmed to do that by the people who modeled what relationships were like for me.
They were modeled by their parents.
Totally. And if you take it back, generation past generation past generation, and forgive everybody for passing down only what they knew, because it's all that they knew. Thank you for playing. Was that helpful
That's
for you?
helpful. Yeah, just to look at it.
What did, if you don't mind sharing, what was the insight from just going through this exercise?
Just being cognizant of the fact that I have to take responsibility for the things that I really did in the relationship. We always put it on the other person, but it's not the other person. It's always starting from us. And knowing that these are the things that I really, maybe I never expressed, but I felt them.
And those were the habitual patterns that became the natural way that you behaved, because it was a default programming that everybody that you grew up with did.
Right.
So to deliberately change the habit is to remember that who I am already is capable of doing what I want. I just need to be mindful that I don't let the old programming get in my way. And this programming will only take over if you resist looking at it as something that you brought to the relationship, because it's all that you had to bring to the relationship. If you had different programming, you would have brought that. Thank you for doing this. Do you know how we are? I'm going to guess that every person in this room, when you get up in the morning and you get ready to get dressed, you open up your closet and you have a whole bunch of things to wear. Everybody here has at least more than one outfit, I hope. Yes. So you stand there in the closet and you look at all your shirts, you look at all your pants or dresses, whatever it is that you have. And you decide, which one do I want to wear today? Which one do I feel like wearing today? And don't you grab that one and put it on? And it feels good. You picked your outfit.
And I've changed them too.
Yeah, and you change them if after you put it on, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right. We are very picky about what we put on. When we go to a restaurant and you have a menu, aren't you picky about the dish you're going to order? You're very picky. I want this but not this, and I'll take this, and then they come out. Well, I'll have the grilled salmon, but I don't want it grilled. I actually want it pan fried. And I know that the salmon counts with mashed potatoes, but instead of mashed potatoes, I'll take carrots. Yeah, right, you're ordering from the menu. Our beliefs we get to pick them like we pick our clothes. We would never go out of our house putting something on that our mother picked for us when we're 45 or 35 or 25. We wouldn't want to do that. But yet we walk out into the world and we're operating from beliefs that our parents picked for us. Beliefs that somehow I'm not good enough. Beliefs that somehow for other people to accept me, I must control how they are. Beliefs that keep us behaving like little children in relationships instead of fully showing up as an adult that can meet them and recognize, I don't need anything from you because you don't need anything from me. I'm already whole and complete as I am. So when we get as picky about the beliefs that we are thinking that are causing us to have the experience that we're having, we will continue to have our parents pick our beliefs for us. And if you don't let your parents pick your clothes, why in the world would you let your parents pick your beliefs for you? Because what you believe about a relationship was modeled to you by your parents. And if your parents had a wonderful relationship, there might have been somebody else that you saw. Maybe it was the parents of a friend. Maybe it was the parents of your ex. Maybe it was you watched it on TV. Maybe you saw, what was one of those dysfunctional shows? Roseanne. And you saw how they create a family. But you watched it through repetition. You saw it again and again and again. And that became the model by which you create relationships. So if you are not deliberately choosing what you want to bring to the table in any relationship, whether it be personal, intimate, business-wise, relationship with money, relationship with your health, from a place of knowing that you are already whole and complete, you just happen to play the human game and kind of picked up other people's ideas about who you were not, and you deliberately want to live from who you really are, you will continue to be reacting to situations from a default mechanism. You will default to what was comfortable at one point, and sometimes being comfortable is pointing out at what's wrong with you so that I don't have to look at what's wrong with me. Because I learned when I was little that when people pointed out what was wrong about me, it hurt. And because I don't want to look at that stuff, I'm going to point it out in you. Because as long as you're hurting, then I don't have to. And it's a crazy thing that we do. We want to hold everybody else responsible to change so we don't look at where we gave away our power. We took on what others said about us and we began to believe that. So take on what you want to believe about yourself. Repeat it enough until you become that. It's crazy stuff. Crazy.